Hey guys, Brian here. Welcome back to the shop. Today I've got a new tool here in the shop that I bought because it'd be handy to have around here instead of having my hardness checked by a friend. I'll be able to check it myself, and I can check other things too. We'll get into that later. But I got a lot of questions or comments on the last video about heat treating and whether or not the small amount of oil I had was enough to actually quench these parts and make them hard. And a lot of people doubt that that's the case, even though it only, once it goes below, I'd have to look at exactly on the diagram, but I think about 800 degrees, the reaction has already stopped. So as long as you can get it below 800 in a short period of time, you will achieve your quench. And I've picked 4 random tappets out of the batch. I'm not going to check every single one of them. But first off, let me show you what I got here, and we'll take a look at getting these checked. We'll see whether or not it's true, whether I did it okay or whether it was a fail. So over here what we have is an RCA portable hardness tester. It says it's a model P-4. According to the label on the back of it, is made by some outfit in Japan. I can't read it right now. I'll take it out later and we'll look. But I was able to pick this kit up off of eBay, mainly because it didn't work. So after spending like a day working on the thing, I got it to where it functions correctly. And I know this because I have specimens that came with it. Looks like they had been checking some really hard stuff for some reason. They have 87 and 92 calibration, so they must have been making something that needed to be between 87 and 92 Rockwell, which is like really hard for most stuff. And it's got a few other attachments in here that are for handheld use and whether or not your part's angled. The way this thing works is off of measuring the indentation under load, which is a little different than most hardness testers. The Rockwell standard applies a load and then it measures how much it comes back off. That's why you preload the things with the dials. So this is actually measured under load, so it's actually closer to they say this is Vickers hardness. Yeah, this measures the Vickers hardness and then you convert it into Rockwell, although the manual doesn't match up with the machine. I assume the manual was written for the Japanese version, and this RCA licensed one, they said, hey, we want one that reads in Rockwell because that's how we measure our stuff, and the Japanese must measure it in Vickers. But anyway, they've got a specially calibrated gauge face on this indicator that converts it to C values. Of course, it stops at 70, so these 87 and 92s are beyond that. But since this is a comparative instrument, as long as you have a master to go by, your numbers will be the same. So, it wouldn't matter what the dial read over here. If you set it 87, with an 87 block and you set it to read 40, if you checked something that was 87, it would still read 40. And then if it was harder, it would read more. If it was softer, it would read less. So the numbers are not a super critical deal, as long as you've got something to calibrate them to, then you can make it read right. So the method it uses is perfectly acceptable. It says there's at most a 5% error between what this reads and a standard Rockwell hardness tester. So that's good enough for me. I'm not doing space grade work. Anyway, it's a cool looking little piece. I'd say it's from the 50s or 60s by the way it looks. Nice metal componentry and stands and different anvils. And it doesn't really, because of the way this checks, unless you're checking the outside of a sphere, any error that you do get actually it will give a reading of less than how it is actually hard. This needs a flat surface or a flat line like on a cylinder in order to read correctly, because it's measuring the travel of the indenter. So as long as you've got that, you'll get a pretty decent reading. If you've got rust built up, or if your part's got a lot of grooves in it or something like that, it won't read. You need a flat space, at least like a 1/4 inch wide, for you to be able to read onto it and get an accurate measurement. So let me grab the standard here and we'll check the calibration on this thing, and then we'll check these parts. So this is the standard. This is an actual Rockwell test block made by Wilson, who's the most common Rockwell hardness tester. And according to what this one here is marked, it should read 55.9 plus or minus 1. So in other words, it ought to be around 56. Because of this rust that's been on here at some point in time, you want to try and stay out of those spots to get the best reading. So we'll just go right here in the center and see what we get. And we're showing So we're showing 55. Let's check another spot. 56. 56. So I'd say we're in pretty good calibration. Zoom in so you can see the dial here maybe. So there's what it's reading. You can see it repeats. So I'd say we're reasonable on that. Let's throw this 87 in here, which it'll be off the scale. So there's reading on that. See, the numbers get closer together as it gets up here harder. So 87, like I said, is only reading at probably what I would say is 75. But if you calibrated this for that, it would make up for it. Well, let's just go ahead and do that because it really doesn't matter. Let's set that 87 at, let's make it 47. Now we're getting a 47 reading, so let's try it again and see if we're closer to 52. Right on the money. So it does work as a comparative instrument. Now I gotta set it back to the correct scale. And we're reading right around 56, so I'd say we're calibrated. So now let me change the handle out here and we'll read these tappets. So this is the first time for both of us. I have no idea what this is going to be. Let's find out. And 62, right on the money. Let's check another spot. 66. And roll it over. 62. So that's that one. Let's check this next one. $66. 64, 66, 64, 64, 62, 64, 64, 66, 66, 66, 64, 65. I'm gonna grab one more just for. This one was out of 2 heat treats ago. Let's see how it compares. $64. No, I'm gonna hit that bad spot. 64. 64. So, I'm right there. I'm in excess of 62, so, which was my target. Appears to be the lowest value on them. So they're between 62 and 66 probably in actuality. This is one that was rejected because it had a spot in it there that didn't clean up where the coating had come off of it, and there wasn't enough material to finish it back out. So, good test piece. So upon further inspection, it shows that looks like that the tappets are indeed as hard as they are supposed to be. And I know there were some questions about, or doubts when I was doing the hard turning, because there was no sparks or anything coming off of them as to whether they were actually that hard. And obviously they are that hard. If anything, they're actually harder than than the 62 that I had speculated that they were, or that the one that my buddy had tested and come back with. That was the value he had come up with. Like I said, it was just on the one, and obviously there's variance in them. They even say on these test blocks, you know, there's typically, even on these high-grade test blocks, there's a variance of close to 1 point on most of them. So it's not unusual to see a couple of points difference depending on where you check a specimen. But I'm going to get this out of its little holder here, and I'll show you what else this thing's handy for that you can't do with a normal hardness tester, because this thing's portable. It's designed where you can take this piece out of the handle and you can go all the way down through here. I might be able to test this table. If I let this down. I think this will work. I'm gonna get this mirror where I can see the face on it. Hardness on this mill table. Between 80 and 90. Right around 90. 90. It's around 90 on the B scale. But let me get this out of here where I can do it handheld and show you how it works. This is a piece of 4140. $60. So between 50 and 80B. In other words, fairly soft. Okay, so now I've got this thing set up for handheld use. Where you got the base on the bottom, push down, read the gauge. It's not terribly easy, because you got to do it straight. But you can see we're reading about that 80 on this mill table again. Like 80 to 100 is what I was reading before. 80. $86, so yeah, right in there. Something I've always wondered about is just how hard is a flame hardened Monarch weigh. You've seen this mill table's harder than regular standard machine steel, or than what in the condition you machine it in. It's not nearly as hard as hardened steel, but let's check the weighs on it, and then we'll go over the Monarch and see what a hardened weigh looks like. I don't think I'm blocking the shop view all too much. And this thing, it just barely leaves a mark. It's not near as big an indentation as what you get out of a standard hardness tester. So that's why I'm not worried about doing this on this weigh, because there's already dots and divots in this bigger than what this leaves as a mark. So it's like right on 90. Same. So consistent on that. So 90 Rockwell B is what the weighs are on my Cincinnati mill. Let's just randomly check the compound. $90. $90. $80. $70. $100. The surface is really beat up, so it's probably the 90s are, I'd say, yeah, only right around 90B, which the same as what it showed on the Cincinnati. So apparently standard iron is going to be close to that. Now I just took this look at this hardened weigh. The lathe bed, where nothing ever runs anyway. Plus they've scratched the serial number and stuff into the surface I'm checking on here. So let's see how hard a flame hardened bed weigh is from Monarch. $52 to $56. Okay, so I'm in the middle of the bed on the Monarch now. So this should be a spot that gives a good average across the whole thing. Looks like to me one spot here in the middle, I'm in between the two weighs that have been ground in the relieved area. So let's see what it checks. Yep, pretty consistent. I'm reading that upside down. That's closer to 50, isn't it? Yeah, that's 50. 46. 46. 54. 50. 50. 42. 48. 50. So probably have 42s and a scratch mark. Anyway, looks like the weighs on the Monarch check between 45 and 50 Rockwell, which is pretty good and hard. It's definitely a lot harder than the weighs on the Cincinnati are, which is probably why they wear so good. So if you ever wondered how hard it is on a Monarch, well, now you know. One handy thing about this portable tester is you can test pieces like this. There's no way you could put this Lathe Bed in a Rockwell tester to check it, so this is a good alternative. Hope you enjoyed getting to see this tester in action and learning how hard the weighs are on a Monarch. I know that was interesting to me, as how it compared to other machine tools such as this Cincinnati. The scale's not linear, so the difference between 90B and 45 to 50C is quite a bit. So the weighs on that Monarch are pretty hard. I'd always wondered how hard flame hard was, and well, now I got a number to put to it. Don't think I've ever seen anybody do that before, or ever seen a number quantified to what it is. Probably because there's not very many tools that can test what it is. And also was glad to see that I did have success on my tappets, that they were within the range that they were supposed to be, and that they weren't super soft like a lot of people had thought they were. So, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, I'll catch you later. P.S. Bailey approves this video.